What do you have? Do you have a penis or do you have a vagina?
I'll pick up my Tennessee person talking like this.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have here with me a very special guest, Zoey. For those of you who are new here, welcome to the family. For those of you who are regular viewers, welcome back. I know I have been missing for a little while, but I'm working on it. I promise I'm working on it. And I have a treat for you today because I have a special person with me, Zoey. She's gonna introduce herself and then we're gonna get to know her and get to know what she's about a little later. All right, Zoey.
So hi, my name is Zoey, and boy, so much history to cover. But anyway, the important things that we're talking about is that I was assigned male at birth, and that didn't work for me. So it took a long time for me to figure out what was really best for me, but then I made a change.
Tell us a little bit about your childhood. So as a child growing up, you were assigned male gender.
Mm-hmm.
So people called you a boy.
Yep.
You were a boy. You were a him, him, he, his.
Yep.
How did you feel? How did you navigate throughout your childhood?
To an extent, it's very confusing a little bit. An example is like, you know, when you know who you are, you know, for example, like Kim, you're a girl.
Yeah.
And you've always thought of yourself as a girl.
Yeah.
But like, if everybody called you a boy all your time and they gave you boys' toys and boys' clothes, you'd be kind of like, ooh, this isn't right.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what it felt like to me as a little kid. And after a while, and this was of course like back in the 70s and early 80s, you know, you eventually just try to go along with it because everybody insists this is what you do.
Yeah.
And so you just try to do it. You want to blend in. You don't want anybody to sort of, you know, pick on you at that point. And of course, when I was young, there wasn't a lot of knowledge about transgender people, just in general.
Did you like hide and play with girl stuff?
That's a hard question. So I came from a really, really small family with just one brother, so there weren't any girls my age around me. But you know, I always ended up playing a little differently. You know, like I just have like my Star Wars action figures, but they're all just sort of getting along together, and they're like, "Hey, let's hop in the AT-AT and go get to the store." Yeah,
yeah. So, how did your parents see any sign of, you know, you being an unhappy child?
My parents. Well, this is a hard question too because my parents don't particularly appreciate, you know, the fact that I've been trying to transition and stuff like this. So I don't think they've really been very honest with me about their perceptions on that. And I don't mean them that they're doing it wrong and they're being mean to me about it, so to speak. But at the same time, they, you know, have so much emotion wrapped up in this whole thing all into themselves that, you know, anything that they can tell me about what I was when I was a little kid, they just don't right now.
Yeah.
So my mom sometimes acknowledges that things were a little strange.
So you said you are transitioning, right? So it's not completed?
Yeah, so that's one thing about it. We talk about transition, and transition is when you undertake to make a change. If you're assigned male at birth and you're going to live as female or vice versa, that's your transition. But most people think it's like, you know, one day comes along and bam, there you go. It's not nearly that simple.
It's a process.
Yeah. I think of lots of little transitions, frankly. There was a day when I realized that, you know, I was just flat out really transgender and I needed to explore what that meant and if I needed to really change my life or not. There was the first day that, you know, I tried something on, you know, and I should say the first day because there was like little exploratory opportunities before.
Yeah.
But you know, actually like getting clothes and seeing how they work and stuff like that.
How was that?
Well, it was really nervous. And
it made you like you feel like a new, like the beginning of a new era, maybe?
It did. And you know, this is one of the things, as good as it feels, and just, trust me, it really does feel good when you put on a dress and you look at yourself and you're like, wow, this kind of works. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's terribly exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking. I mean, to go out in public like that.
Yeah.
Like I built it up as such a big thing. Of course, after, you know, I'd been out once or twice, it became really, really easy to manage after that.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing for it. But yeah, that was a big deal. And then when I started doing hormones, that was another part of transition.
So are you still doing hormones now?
And I'll probably take hormones the rest of my life. You know, but what it happens is there's two types of drugs that I take. One's an anti-androgen, and that's to knock out the testosterone in my system. So I take a pill every day. No big deal there. And then for the hormones themselves, and we're talking about estrogen, estradiol is sort of the chemical name for it. There's a lot of different ways to do that. You can take it as a pill, you can put a patch on your arm. I prefer injections just because it's sweet and simple and easily managed and stuff like that. And I take those shots once a week.
You inject yourself?
I do inject myself, yes. You know, I had a little practice at the doctor's office and they showed me how to do it first. But you know, it's pretty easy. It's a intramuscular injection.
How long did it take you to start getting boobs? Because now you have actual boobs.
Yes. That's a good question too.
Like did you start seeing a little butt coming up and?
Yeah, it was a little bit like that.
How was that when you saw like the first little nipple pushing out?
Well, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And like at the age that I started transitioning, realistically, there wasn't going to be any massive growth. Like for younger people, like if they transition in their teens and stuff, they can have just amazing growth in that respect.
Oh, but because you started late, it's a slower process.
It's a slower process or a more limited process.
Okay. So you were assigned male at birth. You now go by female. That's what you want to be called.
Yeah.
So you have a partner. I'm aware of that. Is your partner male or female?
My partner is female.
So would you be considered gay?
Possibly, yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you? So when you were assigned male and growing up as a male and being called a male, did you date females?
I pretty much exclusively dated females. I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah.
This is another problem.
Yeah.
It was, you know, I don't know how to describe it other than, you know, I was kind of an awkward person. And especially trying to figure out how my feelings related to women was a lot more complicated than I think most people go through, especially in high school. You know, there was a degree to which like, you know, I love and treasure people in my life and certain women in my life. But there's also a realization that I came to later that to an extent I was jealous of them.
For real?
Yeah.
Jealous of the girls you dated?
Yes.
Why? Because they were born something that you wanted to be?
Exactly.
Oh.
Sort of like that.
What are you jealous of your partner now though?
Not so much. Well, sometimes, yes, actually still. I am jealous sometimes.
When you see her having all the female assets.
And one thing that's really important is you gotta sort of understand is like, I wish I weren't transgender.
I get you, definitely.
I mean, I would have rather been born straight female or straight male, you know.
But wait, you were born straight male.
Well, see, what we talk about this, and this is really probably a good thing to understand. When a person is transgender, they are suffering from a condition, a medical condition called gender dysphoria.
So you had that condition?
Yeah. And not all transgender people do, but most do.
So you had a penis, but you feel like a girl, like your emotions and...
Yes. Emotionally, I've always kind of felt like that.
Do people ever like ask you, like people who know that you're a transgender, do they ever ask you like, what do you have? Do you have a penis or do you have a vagina?
Sometimes they do, but we really don't like to answer those kind of questions because I mean, nobody wants to be asked about their private parts, you know, except for like with the most intimate of circumstances, of course. And then, you know, my genitals are sort of the least important part about all this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we talk about too is like there's a lot of confusion between sex and gender.
Yeah.
Sex is sort of what's in between your legs.
And gender is how you feel.
Gender's in between your ears. It's in your head, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say like it's in my head as if it only exists there, because it does. Research suggests that there's a very specific set of conditions that cause this.
Yeah.
But the research is inconclusive, and I don't know. One day they might figure it out.
Yeah. Would you say now that you are happier, now that you are going through this process, starting to look like what you feel?
Yes, I definitely feel happier. And one thing too, when it's important to understand about gender dysphoria causes you, is it causes a confusion, it causes a discomfort, and there's a point where you feel like, I can just live with this. And you go ahead about it, but I found my life getting more and more depression in it.
Now that you're transitioning?
Before.
Oh,
yeah. So before I transitioned, I was having more anxiety, more depression. I was having less confidence in myself and my place in the world. And, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but I'm pretty sure before I decided to transition that I was on a direction that was going to lead to suicide eventually.
Did your family know this?
I think they did, yes. They did know that I was not happy. They, haven't necessarily engaged with me about why I was that way. They just like, well, go see your therapist, take your medicine. And I was doing all that, but it wasn't helping significantly.
Yeah.
And so at some point or another, I realized that, well, maybe if I can make this one very fundamental change in my life, that I could turn the corner and maybe start coming out of this depression a bit. And that's exactly what's happened.
So having boobs and hair and wearing female clothes, you feel like that brought you happiness? Those things brought you happiness?
It's not just those things, because here's another point, is like, even if I don't wear a dress, if I just put on a t-shirt and shorts and, just go super easy, I'm still the person I am. I'm still a woman under those conditions too.
Oh, okay.
So,
just that physically you will pair to be more.
Yeah, and I feel more like the way that I feel about my presentation life is completely different. Like, as a guy, I bought exclusively khaki pants and polo shirts, and that's what I wore to work every day, and that's what I wore at home every day. And
why?
Because I didn't feel good about trying to prepare myself any better.
Oh yeah, you didn't put any effort into how you look.
Or I might make an effort into how I look. Like, I actually used to have my own tuxedo, and like everybody looks good in a tuxedo. But the thrill and the good feelings about being well dressed in that regard just disappeared.
Yeah. So do you get your own hair done?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm follically challenged.
What does that mean?
If this is a wig.
Oh, so you don't actually grow your own hair?
I don't grow enough of my own hair.
So like your wig, who styled it up? Like put the curls in it and stuff?
Well, I've learned to do a lot of that myself.
So you have like multiple wigs?
I have a couple of different wigs, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now I have, well, and this is another thing too. I started off with a lot of black hair, and that's a lot of reasons for that. But it was more affordable, largely, and stuff like this. And at first, this is another key thing for it, is like, I'm trying all these new things out with new dress and new gender expressions and stuff, and I still don't want to be too ostentatious. So I'm like, black hair, lots of black t-shirts, still like,
not doing too much,
not doing anything too crazy, or trying colors and stuff like this.
Do you wear heels?
Sometimes.
And you get your nails done?
I do get my nails done usually. And this is a strange thing for it too, and I'm overdue, but my brows.
You like getting them done?
Yeah, if I get my brows done nicely, that makes me feel really
Yeah,
good.
do you ever get your lashes done?
I haven't done my lashes yet. I do have some falsies at home that I wear sometimes.
Like strips? Like,
Yeah. What do you call them? The magnetic strips.
Yeah, I know.
And that goes pretty well.
You buy your own clothes?
I do, yes. That's the other thing. I'm a big girl anyway, you look at it. So I do a lot of shopping at Torrid, for example. And at first, most of my clothes came off the internet, and sometimes it was like I didn't even know what sizes would be best. So I'd just get as big as I could find. It would arrive, it wouldn't fit, I'd send it right back and maybe try something else.
There are many misconceptions about transgenders. I want you to tell us 3 and just clear it up.
So, that's a good question.
You can take a little bit of time to think about it.
Yeah, let me try to think. Well, one thing is that there's so many people who don't understand. They think that transgender people must be crazy or deluded to think we are what we are. And the delusion is not crazy, and that's not a delusion. I mean, virtually every not every major, just every one of them, fields of medical discipline agree that this is an honest to goodness medical condition, not a mental condition. It has mental symptoms like depression, but there's most likely, like chemical imbalances, most particularly when you're very young or in utero, that are most likely responsible for this. So, like, you see a lot of trans people who aren't well adjusted in life, and it's not because they're transgender that they're not well adjusted. It's because they've been picked on so much for so many years that they're withdrawn from society, and they don't want to, put themselves out in public where they'll be judged so much. Or, there's a way we talk about sometimes, like, your behavior goes sideways when you're not well. And a good example is, like, if someone's not well, they might start drinking too much and get very alcoholic.
I feel you.
And that's a serious mental problem.
All right, second misconception now.
The second big misconception is that there's only just a few transgender people in the world.
There are many.
I think there's more than we realize. I think that most people have met transgender people and you didn't know it.
Yeah, because maybe they started early, as you said before, so they got all the,
younger people, and particularly, like, if we talk about transgender youth, they have a distinct possibility of getting a beautiful transition out of it because, their secondary hormones haven't, put up all the secondary sexual characteristics.
And your number 3?
My third biggest misconception is
can they procreate? Can they get pregnant?
Yes, they can.
So a person born as a male or assigned the male gender transitions to female. Can that person?
So that person won't get,
because you won't have a uterus.
Yeah, we won't have a really functioning uterus.
But
it is potentially possible to still produce offspring by, like, collecting semen and stuff like that. But it's probably not going to work out quite so well in the traditional sense of that. Now, there's another thing. There are trans men in the world who were assigned female at birth, and then they transition to male. And those people can actually still have a baby. They have to be careful with their hormones and a few other things like that.
Yeah, because they still have the uterus inside.
Yeah, they still have a uterus.
Do you have kids?
I don't have any children of my own, no.
Do you want to have children?
I don't think so, no.
Adopt, maybe?
Not really, not right now.
No?
So, like,
your partner doesn't want to have children?
Well, my partner has a child of her own from a previous relationships, and she loves her child very much. And it's nothing against, like, part of me was, like, for a long time, me just feeling not right in the world made me feel like I don't need to be bringing children into this world. My genes are all weird in the first place, and stuff like that. So, and then, I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am, but I've gotten to an age now where, like, if I brought any children in my life now, that would not be the best plan.
So, at what age did you start transitioning?
I started transitioning probably effectively around 39.
39. So all your documents prior to the transition, you changed your name and everything. So you got new birth certificate.
We cannot, in the state of Tennessee where we are, Tennessee is one of 2 states in the union where I cannot change my birth certificate.
So on your birth certificate, you still have your male name on it?
That's correct.
And then on your driver's license, your
Passport and everything else in the
it's
world.
Zoey?
Yep, it's Zoey.
Okay. Do you want to tell them what was your male assigned name?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Is there any final word you want to say?
Just that it's been extremely exciting to get to talk to you about this. And there's so many things that, you know, I wish that more people had a chance to meet with trans people.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, Zoey. I met Zoey a few weeks ago and she was a sweetheart. She started opening up to me about, you know, her, what do you call it? Her story, basically, and what this process has been like for her. She still has a little way to go with transitioning. So what are you working on now? The voice still, or the voice is where you want it to be?
No, voice is not where I want it to be. And the way I think of that is I'm going to be transitioning for the rest of my life.
And you're okay with that?
Well, it's a process. It's never going to be a goal in the end, you know. And there's things like, yeah, my voice needs a lot of work. I'm kind of in tune with my voice anyway because I always used to make a lot of silly voices.
Yeah. Do you still, like, if you try, could you like bring back your male voice? Like,
oh yeah, I can bring that back. It comes back fairly easily, really. And like I said, I have a tendency to use a lot of silly voices. So even today, like, I'll pick up my Tennessee person talking like this. In fact, I was at work the other day and I accidentally did that out in front of a bunch of people, and they're all like really startled.
Whoa!
Because of course it was behind a mask.
They
didn't know what was going on.
Damn.
So
have you ever like had regrets about transitioning? Like you wish you had just stayed the way you were?
You know, I revisit that question a lot, and no, I never come back to that.
No regrets?
No. Well, don't get me wrong. There's been hard things about all this.
What has been the hardest?
Well, I've been very separated from my family.
By choice or?
Not my choice, their choice.
They don't want to be associated with you?
No, not really.
At all?
Well, my father hasn't talked to me in almost 5 years. My mother goes through phases where she's like trying really hard and then she doesn't.
And your sibling?
And my brother, you know, I've seen him once in 5 years too. So.
How does that make you feel? Are you okay with it? Like,
no, it's one of those things that I wish I could improve and make better, rebuild a relationship, but they're not making any effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I can keep throwing myself in front of my dad, for example, and he's just gonna get, you know, angry about it every time.
Yeah.
And it's not that, you know, he's in a position to do anything, you know, horrible to me about it. But, you know, I feel like instead of like bringing it together, it would just be pushing him off further.
Yeah.
So, you know, as far as my family goes, I just sort of sit and wait. And I hope that, you know, we can reconcile at some point. But at the same time, it's been very hurtful in that respect. A lot of my friends have done a much better job of accepting me for who I am.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them sort of had like inklings of it. Some of my first friends, I swear to goodness, like I was breaking the news to them that I was going to transition, and her response was, "Well, it's about time."
Oh, she knew how you felt, like.
No. I had never spoken to her about it before.
Then if she said it's about time, maybe she knew in the back of her head that.
Yeah,
you know.
she had an idea that you know that I wasn't just a straight normal. And here's a good set of expressions for it. So if I'm a trans person, the opposite of a trans person is a cis person. That's CIS. There's nothing like sissy involved with it. So, you know, most people in the world are cis people. They're cis men, cis women, and that's perfectly cool. We don't want to call it normal because trans people are normal too. So trans people and cis people in the world. And yeah, like I said, I think some of my friends, especially in the past like 15 years, really had the sense that I was not your basic simple cis person. And I don't mean to say there's anything wrong with being basic and cis. Like I said, sometimes I wish I was.
Okay, all right. I think our time is well spent. We went through many challenges to actually get this video recorded. Where I wanted to record the video first, I'm not very well at giving directions, so we got lost.
It wasn't that bad.
And then we had to relocate. It was noisy at the other location, and now we're actually in the gym at my apartment. we're making it work, and that is what we do. You figure out a way to make things work.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Zoe.
Thank you for having me.
There are actually 2 young men in the gym right now who are working out. They actually had their music playing and everything, and they pretty much stopped it so we could get to record this video. And you know, pretty much try to remain quiet. So thank you to those young men. I'm going to thank them after this video.
They gave us the thumbs up.
And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And Zoe may be starting a channel soon. Maybe, you never know. She spoke to me about wanting to do it, so let's see if she actually gets it done. And when she does, you guys will be one of the first of the people to know. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.